Once you get into pro wrestling, or if you're just a sports fan your entire life, at some point you think to yourself, man, if I just had the money, I would follow my team around, or I would follow the show around across the country, and I would just go to all the games and all the shows they do for like a year or something like that. And unfortunately, I'm not quite anywhere close to being able to do that yet. But we saw an opportunity to do something kind of along those lines. We saw that AEW Dynamite was going to be in Cleveland, Ohio, and then the following week in Cincinnati, Ohio. And given that we're in Michigan and we were looking to do our yearly vacation, what better way to spend a yearly vacation than in the great state of Ohio, traveling and following AEW Dynamite for a week? I'm here to take you on that journey, and actually I want to talk about the differences in venues between the two. If you're at all familiar with the venues that Dynamite was in previous weeks when they were in Cleveland and in Cincinnati, they were very different experiences, and I think that'll be an interesting thing to talk about. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. We traveled down to Cleveland, Ohio. It's not the first time we had been there. We were there for Cleveland SummerSlam about a year ago, so we were already kind of familiar. We had some places we wanted to check out, but I made sure to start off with some awesome looking pancakes that were printed graciously by the hotel breakfast area. Hotel breakfasts are fine. And of course, as always, or at least when we can, we take Max with us, and he's always happy to take in the new smells and basically dominate the area while we're in town. But we didn't have a lot of time to really do much when we first got to Cleveland because we arrived the day of Dynamite. So we headed to downtown Cleveland for the second time in the last year, and we linked up with our friends Johnny and Marissa from Make Yourself Famous, someone you might already know. As always, these shows start off with some pre-show matches that are from Ring of Honor. Anytime you go to an AEW show, at least in the few that we have been to, maybe not for the pay-per-views, but for the weekly shows, yeah, they always open up with some ROH matches that are, they're being recorded for whatever their future episodes are. And they actually feature a decent amount of AEW talent. They have a lot of crossover. I don't personally follow Ring of Honor at all, but it is cool seeing it in person because you get to see some wrestlers that you maybe have heard of, or at least we have heard of thanks to the Patreon. We definitely see some names that we've seen from there. I gotta say, the Cleveland Dynamite was sick. I will say we went into it a little bit bummed because we were pretty confident during these shows we were not going to get Kenny Omega or Will Ospreay, two of the people that we would be very much looking forward to seeing. And just because of the way they were written out through storylines or injury or whatever, how they were going to be away. Yeah, we were feeling pretty confident we weren't going to get two of the biggest names that we wanted to see, but they still managed to put on a fantastic show.
Tony! Let's go!
Now, the first thing I would really like to talk about, since we're at the first venue here, is that this venue was more like a small college sports arena. So this is kind of your middle ground. This is honestly what I think is a pretty solid fit, generally speaking, for AEW shows. And we've been to a couple shows at this point. We went to the shows that were in Detroit that was in a very small theater, and we've also been to the pay-per-view. So we've seen a very wide range already. This is a nice middle ground for AEW. And while it wasn't entirely filled because they can't fill what's behind like the stage and everything, it filled up pretty good and it sounded great. This is the type of size of arena that I would prefer. That's about, if I'm going to go to a show, I like it to be no bigger than roughly what that was. Because in my experience, when you get to these bigger arenas, especially the open dome ones where it's outside, the sound just kind of leaves and it never feels as loud as you think it could. And with AEW shows, you already really don't have much of an issue keeping up the volume. The crowd is pretty rowdy from start to finish, but I really liked the size of this venue. This was actually the first time that we got to see these like babyface and heel tunnels, which apparently that's what those are. If you come out on one side, it means you're a good guy, and if you're the other side, you're a bad guy. It took me a while to even realize that. You guys explained it, but I don't think I believed you when you first said it because it seemed too obvious. But yeah, you learn something every day. I only bring that up because in Detroit, the venue was so small, they didn't have room for like the full stage. So it was cool to be able to see the full AEW Dynamite display with the full pyro. That was really cool. This was also the first time I saw a little bit of a behind the scenes look at how some of these backstage segments are shot. Apparently, they're not all live. I just assumed from watching WWE and AEW that for the most part, when they do these backstage interviews and stuff, I just assumed that it was happening live backstage. But there was one segment where Renee, one of the one of the backstage reporters, was talking to the Young Bucks, but I could see her standing alone in the ring while it was playing. That was a first for me. Usually if it's pre-recorded, I feel like they hide it a little bit better. That's the first time I've seen the person on the screen, which for something that is being displayed live on TV, also standing in the ring. Just kind of funny. We were also close enough to be spotted on TV a few times. Shout out to those of you who tagged us in a few clips of those. That was pretty cool. Appreciate that. Me and Johnny and the person sitting next to him actually started a AEW chant, which was pretty cool. That was the first time I feel like I was in the first couple people chanting something, and you slowly hear the people around you do it, and it's so much easier, I feel like, to start a chant at an AEW show where you don't get a ton of random chants during WWE shows. It's usually you're standing like, this is awesome, holy shit, or anything along those lines. You get a lot more frequency of and diverse chants with AEW. I didn't have any courage to give out any specific, ultra specific chants. I wanted to keep it simple, but when we started doing the AEW chant, hearing it grow to the point where the whole arena was doing it, there's no feeling like that. That was pretty damn cool, and it was actually caught on TV. I did also check out the merch table. There wasn't a ton that I'm not already used to seeing when I've checked out their merch tables before. It's not usually the biggest merch table. Sometimes, like at the pay-per-view when I went to All In, they got the whole display and they've got a lot of everything, but usually at these weekly shows, it feels like it's fairly limited. We didn't want to go too crazy on the spending on merch or just stuff in general because we had a long week ahead of us, but I did pick up this hat. I love this hat. I talked a lot in the past about how I didn't understand why AEW fans wore AEW shirts or hats, and you know what? It's not something I feel like I can properly explain. It's more something I think I understand it. I get it now. I don't feel like we need to elaborate any further. I feel like I just get it. So I got the hat. However, I did purchase Tony Storm's shoe, which, as you could probably tell from the size, is not a real shoe. This is it's a pretty affordable piece of random merchandise that you can just kind of put on a shelf, but it is squishy. It's like a stress ball, which is I find that interesting. I thought this was kind of a clever, just a silly piece of merch, so I had to pick it up. It wasn't expensive at all. It says "Watch for the shoe." It's got Tony Storm on the bottom. It's got her name on Timeless Tony Storm on the other side as well. So that'll just be something for the shelf. I thought that was kind of clever. And as always, they end the show with Tony Khan coming out, and I'm starting to pick up on something, and I'm gonna be the one to say this. I'm gonna be the one to let you know, if you go to these shows, don't feel special. Tony Khan, I like you. You put on a pretty damn good show, but you go to every city and you tell them the same thing. I'm just saying, this is probably a standard thing, but when you hear it and you travel to see it, and every city you go to, he says the same. He calls everyone the best sports fans in the world, by the way, so don't feel special if he tells you that. And he does the same little pay-per-view teaser at every show we've been to. I still appreciate the kind words. It's the thought that counts. By the way, for the Cleveland show, they actually closed the show with some Ring of Honor matches as well. So we got a lot of wrestling in this one venue, in this one trip. So the Cleveland Dynamite show, 10 out of 10. That was a lot of fun, or at least it was a 10 out of 10 for now. But I would say overall, that was a pretty good start to a full week of traveling across Ohio for some wrestling. One of the main reasons we're even able to go on this trip or do any of these trips where we go and check out shows, make vlogs about it, is because of you guys, especially on the Patreon. So if you're not already on the Patreon, please check that out. We have over 600 posts on there, and almost every single one of them is us watching a wrestling match for the very first time. So if you've ever wondered what was our reaction to watching some amazing match that happened years ago, and what was our reaction to seeing it for the first time, it's probably on the Patreon by now, and you could check it out. So patreon.com/Deporticus. Thank you so much for everyone who's been supportive over there, but let's get back to the video. Okay, we are day 2 in Cleveland. We went to Dynamite last night. We got some time to kill. We got a week to kill. So we're gonna do some fun stuff in Cleveland, but our hotel has a pool, and we did not prepare for that. So we're gonna go to Target, and we're gonna find some bathing suits, and we're gonna make sure we can get the full on vacation, taking a full trip experience. And then we got some other stuff we're gonna do too this week. Don't worry, we're not gonna stay in the hotel, but let's get it. Let's see if we can find some. Maybe we can find some wrestling bathing suits. Maybe, probably not. By the way, I don't really like going to stores and stuff that we have at home, but we needed bathing suits, so we went to Target. Okay, so this is taking longer than I expected.
I just got here.
When I think pick out bathing suit, I'm thinking functional, like get what will work. And in here, we're shopping for something cute. So it's gonna be a longer trip to Target than I expected. Okay, I told Tally
I was gonna look for my suit. I lied. I'm looking for wrestling action figures and trading cards. So let's go. Ooh. Tyler Bate, we got Roman. Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn. Shawn Michaels, we got Seth freaking Rollins. Pretty limited AEW options. I've pretty much got the WWE ones I want, so I don't think I really want to fuck with any of this. The DX though, that's kind of fire. Alright, I'm good on those. Let's go find a card, or cards. I'm lost. It's usually on this like back wall. I found them. Found the cards. They don't seem to have any sort of wrestling cards. Either show. So, no luck. So, at this Target, there's just like, they have like vomit and like feces all over the walls. Like, here, I don't even know if I can show this.
So we did find bathing suits, and this part of the story remains wrestling related, but I did not want to video it because that would feel weird to the people around us. But we got bathing suits, we went to the hotel pool, and I really wanted to share just this quick little tidbit part of the story because with us getting into wrestling later in our lives, there's certain experiences that we didn't get to have as kids that a lot of you did. And so I'm not even joking when I say for over an hour at the hotel pool, we did wrestling moves, which sounds silly. I know, you know, grown man, by the way, comments incoming. But you know, it was a lot of fun. You know, obviously we did it safely and it was like kind of just like silly, you know, gentle versions of it. But you know, I always heard that you guys would do like wrestling moves or RKOs into the pool or whatever. And we did that for a while, and it was something that I get why you did it as a kid, and as someone who never got to do it, that was a lot of fun. I was a little achier because, you know, I'm a little older than a kid doing it, but obviously I didn't film any of this. I'm not going to record at the pool. I mean, A, you don't want to see that, but B, there's other people there with their kids and stuff, so I'm not getting any B-roll or any footage from that. So I just wanted to let you know we had a good time, you know, kind of making up for missed time in our childhood. A couple times in this video, I'm going to shout out some local businesses that we have grown fond of, and we would love for you guys to check out if you're ever in the area. So if you're in the Cleveland area and you love a good pizza, there's a place called Sauced Wood-Fired Pizza. We went there last year when we went there for Cleveland SummerSlam, and obviously we had to go back and make sure it was just as good this year. And it is fantastic. It's quick. It feels like a small, like mom and pop type vibe. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's a chain, but we don't have one near us. After making sure Max got his exercise and his attention for the day before we headed out for the zoo, we went out on day 3 to the Cleveland Zoo, which was a ton of fun. We wanted to spend a longer time at the Cleveland Zoo. It was like 90 something degrees and the feels like was pretty much 100 or 100 plus. That's not our kind of weather, so we didn't go as much of the day as we wanted to. Checked out a lot of stuff. Tally loves zoos. I'm more of an aquarium guy, which we're going to do later in the week, but I do enjoy my occasional zoo as well. But this one was cool. A lot of cool experiences. Got to feed some birds, got to see a lot of animals. So if you're into zoos, Cleveland Zoo, from what we were able to see, gets a big thumbs up from us. After the zoo, it was time to head down south all the way to the bottom of Ohio to Cincinnati, which kind of inconvenient that Cleveland is at the tippy top and Cincy is at the very bottom. We headed down to Cincinnati, and when we got there, we had plenty of time to kill because the end of the trip was going to be at AEW Dynamite in Cincy. So we had plenty of time to kill, and we did end up checking out some other local businesses. Another one that I really want to give some love to is this Holston's Baking Company. They seem to specialize in like cheesecake and a bunch of desserts. We got to talk to the people who own the place. It's a family-run place. So big thumbs up to anybody who lives in the Milford or Cincinnati area. Go check out that place. Pretty damn good. Also on our travels, we came across this place that at first glance, it looked like a theme park. Like it really did look like this big amusement park thing. There's a ton of people going in and out, but as we pulled up, we noticed that there's people walking in and out with carts, like grocery shopping carts, and that's because this is just like a crazy detailed and huge shopping center with a tribute to Harambe on the outside. Shout out. But I can't imagine going here for like your regular shopping because it was huge. Like there was a bunch of stores. It was like a mall, but it was shaped like a grocery store. It was very weird. The highlight of this location for us, though, was we found the bathrooms, and at first glance, it looks like, hey, That's kind of weird. A couple of porta potties in the middle of a shopping center. No, and I don't think I got footage of the door actually being opened or going inside of it or anything, because that would be weird. But these doors open, these porta potty doors open and lead into a full-sized bathroom. It was that was just wild. All of the screens that you see above those porta potty doors, those are all like, it's just on a loop. Those are like news clips of different news companies or news shows talking about these bathrooms and how unique they are. It's crazy. I don't know if they won some like awards for it or what, but we happened to stumble on some of like one of the wildest bathrooms I feel like I've ever seen in my life. We did manage to check out a local Walmart. We had to pick up a few supplies that we were running out on, and I went to see if they had some figures, and it was a little bit of a unique thing. Like, I feel like they had some options that I don't normally see. They had like full sets of stuff. They had a little bit of AEW stuff. They had it was interesting. They had a toy that was specifically like a tribute to the moment R-Truth and The Miz like switched their titles from the old ones to the new ones, and like the WWE switched to new titles. That was interesting. I've never seen that before. But more importantly, after a few days of being in Ohio, AEW drops this information that in Columbus in a few months, so basically where we had just driven past, they were going to be having ROH's Final Battle, I believe it's called, and then an episode of Collision happening in December in Columbus. Now, I believe Final Battle is a big pay-per-view for Ring of Honor. I don't know if it's like their WrestleMania. I don't know if that's like their big show of the year. I'm totally unfamiliar. I have not watched a Ring of Honor full show, or definitely not a pay-per-view yet. But with both of these being in Columbus, and it's a few months away, we could definitely save up for that. I think we might be going on that trip. I don't know. Might vlog that as well. Might vlog the full experience of going to an ROH pay-per-view for the first time. So if you want to see that, let me know down below. Now, we only had a couple more days until we had to be at Dynamite, so I really wanted to make sure I got my fix, and we went and checked out the Newport Aquarium. Now, this technically is not in Cincinnati, Ohio. Apparently, this is actually in Kentucky, and Kentucky and Cincinnati basically are like in the same little split. Like they're like, there's only like a thin body of water between the two. So we got a picture in Kentucky of Cincinnati behind us, and then we went in and checked out the Newport Aquarium. This is the second time we've been to this aquarium. We went here when we went down to Cincinnati. I think it had to be, maybe it was almost 2 years ago. I can't remember when we went to Cincinnati, but I know we were down here before, and this is the second time we've been to this aquarium, and I absolutely love it. If you are somebody who likes aquariums where you get to like, you get to touch some of like the stingrays, and there's a lot of stuff to interact with. There's a ton of variety. You get to see like the deep sea stuff. You get to see sharks. You know, Tally really likes aquariums and zoos, but I'm all about the aquariums. I love this. Every time we go near Cincinnati, I am making sure that we check out this aquarium. It's just a good time every time. Now, this next part's a little bit sentimental, but we spent the last couple of days before Dynamite just kind of checking out local spots, getting really good views. But one of the places we revisited from over a year ago was this like bar at the top of a hill. Great view of Cincinnati. But the reason why it was so special, I shouldn't say that's the only reason, but one of the things that made it special was this parking garage. And this parking garage is not going to mean anything to anyone, but this was the parking garage that I was standing in and walking away from that car, checking my phone and seeing that my video that my first video about getting into wrestling for the first time was blowing up. And so that day, over a year ago, walking in that parking garage is where I was checking my phone, refreshing, and seeing that it was getting a ton of comments, a ton of views. And so for whatever reason, that little parking garage holds a photographed memory for me of just a special moment where I'm like, oh my God, the video is actually doing really well, which again, might not mean anything to just about anyone, but it meant a lot to me. So I made sure to get a little video while I was in that parking garage. It was a special place in my heart. It is sure crazy how time flies when you're on vacation, because out of nowhere, it felt like all of a sudden it was Wednesday again. And you know what that means. Now, we talked about a very different venue for the Cleveland side of things, and I'm really excited to talk about the venue that we were in for Cincinnati. It was very different. So we went downtown, and once again, we met up with Johnny and Marissa from Make Yourself Famous. We also got to meet up with Minnie and Nate, so first time meeting them, so that was really cool. So we made our way down the streets of Cincinnati to this very small venue that this is definitely a little bit bigger, I think, than the Detroit venue that we saw our first AEW show at. It was kind of hard to tell just because the way it's shaped is just different. But when you first walk in, it really just kind of felt like the show was in the back of a bar. And then when you walk more forward, it opens up and you see that there's a lot more seating. This show, and this is exactly why I prefer going to these shows for the live experience, the smaller crowds, especially the way this one was built, where instead of going away from the action, the seats went up, and it felt like all these people were just like on top of the action. It was phenomenal. These shows are so much fun because you feel like you're in it. It doesn't feel like you're watching from afar, pretty much no matter where you're sitting. And you know, the insults are going to come in and the comments are going to be on this video already, and they're going to only watch the first 10 seconds of it, and they're going to say, oh, wow, you and 10 other people really enjoyed those shows. Don't forget those people. Me and those 10 other people really loved this show. I'm kidding. No, we seriously had a blast. Like, it feels like the chants are constant. It was very interesting to see Jon Moxley be so over with the crowd. I later found out that I guess he's from Ohio, or I think he might even be specifically from Cincinnati.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Rip it out! Oh, no, come on!
And we were fortunate enough to have some fantastic seats. I think we were like in the third row on like the corner. Now, I went in with low hopes thinking, okay, third row is that's fantastic, especially for an AEW show where they're like up in your face. But the only negative was I really, if I'm gonna sit that close, I want to try to sit on the corner where they usually have a ton of action. And I predicted they would be on the corner that they're usually in. We got extremely lucky because we got great seats and they were coming in from the corner that we were sitting on. So if you watch that show, the one that was in recently in Cincinnati, there was a lot of run-ins. There was a lot of just action going on, coming in and out from people running in from this corner. And it was like 3 feet away from us. That was incredible. So obviously the seats already on their own were spectacular. It was a great view, but just that little extra sugar on top of just having that little entryway be next to us was just so damn cool. We actually didn't get to sit with Johnny and Marissa for this one, so randomly throughout the show, if something big would happen, whereas a week ago we would have turned to each other and like reacted or said something to each other, this time if something happened that we all enjoyed, we would look up at them and they would look down. It was pretty funny. I also got to sit next to a bunch of AEW like production people. Like, I was the last person, like the last seat of actual like people watching, actual crowd. And right next to us was all these AEW people. Like, some were holding these microphones. They had a bunch of supplies. I even caught a glimpse of, after Mercedes Moné came out, the people that have to like hold and like organize her belts and take them somewhere. That was kind of funny to see them just kind of just take it. Apparently she's got so many belts, it's a 2-man job. But there really is just something about these smaller venues, especially when you got big moments like Edge and Christian making up and everything. You've got Will Ospreay making a surprise return. That was incredible. Like, it came right through our corner. So of course, Tally absolutely freaked out. There is no better, in my opinion, from what I have been able to attend myself, there is no better in-person wrestling experience than going to a small venue AEW show. And the closest thing I can compare to it and say that's a close second is a WWE house show. It's something about the smaller venues. It just hits significantly differently. And it's something I don't feel like I get when I go to a big weekly show for WWE. And I would even go so far as to argue I don't feel like I got that at a big arena or big stadium feel at All In. Something about spreading the crowd out, having just too much room for the noise to get lost. It just doesn't hit the same for me personally as these smaller venues. And this venue was cool. I think this one was at like the Andrew J. Brady Center or something. I don't know. It had just a long name and it just said center, I think. I don't know. I don't really remember the exact name of the venue, but this place, I would absolutely love to go to a wrestling show at this venue again. Something else I feel like I never see at any shows, not just like AEW, WWE, any shows, is merch shirts for $20. Now, I'm not going to say this is something they do often. This is clearly playing on the joke of the Young Bucks right now and their merch and everything being cheap, but we had to scoop it up. Tally got a Young Bucks silly t-shirt, which was actually only $20. They weren't just saying that on TV. They had all these other t-shirts for like $60, $70, $80. It's this expensive merch. And then they had these Young Bucks shirts. They had a ton of them in stock for $20 a pop, which is just hilarious. We also saw Justin Roberts just get knocked out with a super kick by the Young Bucks, by the way. That was kind of cool. He sold that incredibly. He was down on the ground for like 5 straight minutes before he hobbled off past us. And of course, why not? Tony Khan comes out there and says, now Cincinnati is the best sports crowd, not Cleveland. Now it's Cincinnati, and don't you worry, maybe we'll have a pay-per-view here with the same old promises, which, you know, I'm pretending to hate. I get it. You play up the crowd, you make everybody happy. I get it, but it is still funny. It's very funny. This show also, by the way, did not have after-show Ring of Honor matches. I don't even actually know for sure if they had Ring of Honor pre-show matches. I'm sure they probably did, but I'm only assuming because they've always had it at other shows, but they also always had Ring of Honor shows after. This is the first AEW show I've been to, Dynamite or Collision, where they didn't have more Ring of Honor matches after the show. Tony Khan came out, said a few things like he normally does, and then he wished everyone well and sent everybody on their way. So I was a little surprised by that, but that was the end of the show. They did talk about having Collision the very next day. Unfortunately, we could not. That would have been ideal if there would have been Dynamite and Collision in Cleveland and Dynamite and Collision in Cincinnati. That would have been really cool. But unfortunately, we couldn't stay the extra day for a Collision. Just wasn't going to work for Tally's work. But even though we weren't going to be able to stay for Collision for the next day, we made sure to hang out in Cincinnati for the rest of the night, check out some local spots.
What was our favorite part of the show?
Osprey!
Also, Yuta sucking and being put in a bag.
Yeah. Fuck you, though.
I was so conflicted the whole time. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
It was a great time. This is the kind of thing that I really, really enjoy doing. And I know I can't only do vlogs, but whenever I get the opportunity to go to a local show, I love to kind of take some recordings of it and talk about the experience, because this is the kind of thing that I would love for more people just to be able to do. And AEW specifically, I feel like, is offering that opportunity to do it at an affordable price. So I love kind of showing how great these events are, how much fun we have at these events, because this is something that is absolutely obtainable for just about anyone. As long as they come to a city near you, the cheapest seats to get in are always extremely affordable. The cheapest seats at these AEW shows, man, you're not far back at all. Like the cheapest seats at this last venue, the furthest seats back would be like hundreds of dollars if to sit that close to the WWE show, which, I'm not trying to say like, oh, that's why it's better than WWE. These are the kind of videos that I'm specifically making for people who just want to go to wrestling shows and you just want to experience it and you just want to feel what it's like to be at these kind of events and really experience this. This is the way to do it. If you can't get to a WWE house show because they're cutting back on those, I don't even think they hardly ever do those anymore. These shows are the ones that you can go to for a very affordable price. Before everybody asks, we are expecting to go to All Out in Toronto. That's pretty close to us. And then we only just found out about this ROH pay-per-view with Collision happening in Columbus in a couple months. And that's plenty of time to plan for. So we'll probably end up going to that as well. So if you're at either of those events, keep an eye out for me. Feel free to say hello. And I'll probably make videos similar to this about those experiences. I'm really excited to go to All Out after how great of an experience that All In was. So really looking forward to that. If you really enjoyed this kind of a video or any of this kind of like going to events type of content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Join the Discord if you want to talk about wrestling 24/7. It could be about any company. It could be WWE, AEW, New Japan, TNA, everything in between. We talk about all of it over there in the Discord 24/7. So I will see you over on the Discord, maybe over on Twitch, maybe during the live streams. Who knows? We do everything around here. I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you to the patrons flying up the screen. I will see you guys in the next city. Bye.
I'm just like, this is like literally, we found a Condados, and this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. I just saw Will Ospreay, and now I get to eat Condados.
Got his ass beat.
They did.
Okay, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
That's actually all we're talking about.
We're not, nope.